So I've been with Tyler for 7 months. He's 26, works as a supervisor at one of those big box home improvement stores, and honestly seemed like he had his life together. We met through mutual friends at Hector's birthday party last spring. Tyler was charming, funny, made me feel special in that way where you think maybe you finally found someone decent after a string of losers. He was so attentive in the beginning, would text me good morning every day, remember little things I mentioned in passing, bring me coffee when I had early shifts at work. We'd spend entire weekends together just talking and watching movies. He introduced me to his friends pretty quickly and seemed genuinely excited to have me around. His apartment is this decent 2-bedroom place he shares with his buddy from high school, and while it's not fancy, it felt like home when I was there. For our 7-month anniversary last week, I decided to do something really special. Tyler had mentioned several times how much he loved this band and how they never tour anymore. Well, guess what? They announced a surprise concert here in town with only 2 shows. Tickets sold out in literally minutes, but I managed to snag VIP passes through my friend Jasmine, who works at the venue doing event coordination. These weren't just regular tickets. We're talking meet and greet, backstage access, premium parking, open bar, the whole package. Cost me $400, but I thought it would be perfect for us. I also booked us a room at the Marriott downtown because Tyler lives with his roommate Douglas, and my apartment is this tiny studio above a bakery that barely fits my bed. Figured we could make it a whole romantic weekend thing. I was so excited to surprise him with everything. I even bought a new dress for the concert and had been planning what I was going to wear for weeks. Thursday morning, I called Tyler to tell him about the tickets. His reaction was weird from the start. Instead of being excited, he got all quiet and said he needed to think about something. When I asked what he meant, he said he had to check his schedule. Check his schedule? For the concert of his favorite band that he'd been talking about forever. Like, what could possibly be more important than this? Friday, he texts me saying we need to talk. So I drive over to his place thinking maybe he's planning his own surprise or something. Boy, was I wrong. The drive there, I was actually excited, thinking maybe he wanted to coordinate something special to go with my surprise. Tyler sits me down on his ratty couch and starts going on about how he's been thinking about our relationship and where it's heading. Red flags are going off in my head, but I'm trying to stay calm. Then he drops the bomb. He says he's been talking to his ex Eleanor a lot lately, and they've been working through some unresolved feelings. I'm like, excuse me, what? This is the first I'm hearing about any contact with his ex. Tyler dated Eleanor for 2 years in college, and they broke up about a year before we met. He always said it ended amicably, but they didn't stay in touch. Apparently, that was a complete lie. So I ask him straight up what this means for us. That's when Tyler gets this look on his face like I'm being unreasonable. He tells me that Eleanor is going through a really hard time right now with her family, and she could really use the distraction of a fun night out. He wants to take her to the concert instead of me. I literally could not believe what I was hearing. I told him those tickets were for our anniversary, that I bought them specifically for us, and there was no way in hell I was giving them up so he could take his ex. I mean, what kind of person does that? Who takes anniversary gifts and gives them to their ex? Tyler's whole demeanor changed. He got this cold expression and started talking to me like I was a child having a tantrum. He said I was being pathetic and desperate, that I clearly didn't understand how real adults handle relationships. According to him, mature people can maintain friendships with their exes and support each other through difficult times. He said maybe Eleanor deserves nice things more than someone who gets jealous over basic human compassion. I was furious. I told him if he wanted to support Eleanor so badly, he could do it on his own time with his own money. The tickets were mine, and I wasn't changing our plans for his ex. Like, who does he think he is making decisions about my money and my plans? He laughed in my face and said I was too clingy to understand what a healthy relationship looks like. He said I was acting possessive and crazy, and that he needed space to figure out if he wanted to be with someone so insecure. Then he had the nerve to suggest that maybe this was a sign we weren't compatible after all. Then he blocked me. Just like that. Blocked my number, blocked me on Instagram, blocked me everywhere. Didn't even give me a chance to respond or defend myself. Just cut me off completely like our 7 months together meant absolutely nothing. I spent the next couple days calling him from different numbers trying to get him to talk to me. Not because I wanted him back, hell no, but because I needed to know what he was planning to do about the concert. Those tickets were in my name, paid for with my credit card, and I had the confirmation emails. I also had the hotel reservation that I'd paid for in advance. Saturday morning, I wake up to dozens of notifications on Instagram. Tyler had unblocked me just long enough to tag me in a story. It was a video of him and Eleanor in the VIP section at the concert, wearing the lanyards that came with my tickets. Eleanor was wearing this gorgeous silver necklace that looked familiar, and then I realized why. It was the anniversary gift I'd given Tyler just 2 weeks earlier. A vintage silver chain I'd found at this antique shop downtown that cost me almost $200 and took me weeks to track down because he'd mentioned loving vintage jewelry. The caption on the video was the final slap in the face. "Thanks for funding our reunion," she says hi. I immediately tried calling the venue to report the tickets as stolen, but since Tyler's name was on the guest list as my +1, they said there was nothing they could do after the fact. I called the hotel too, but Tyler had somehow convinced them to transfer the reservation to his name. Apparently he'd called pretending to be my boyfriend making arrangements and they just let him. No verification, no nothing. Sunday morning, I'm still trying to process everything when I get a text from an unknown number. It's from Barry, who I later find out is Tyler's best friend from work. The message said I should be grateful Tyler even dated someone so basic, and that I should take notes from a real woman who knows how to handle a man. Like, what the actual hell? Why is his friend even texting me? That's when I lost it completely. I screenshot Barry's message and posted it on my Instagram story asking if anyone knew this number because someone was harassing me. Within hours, people had figured out it was Barry and started commenting on his posts asking why he was texting other people's girlfriends. Apparently, Barry didn't think that through very well. But Tyler wasn't done humiliating me. Monday morning, he posts on his main Instagram feed a picture of him and Eleanor at some fancy brunch spot downtown. The caption read, "Finally upgraded from charity work. Sometimes you don't realize what you're missing until you remember what you used to have." The comments were brutal. All his friends laughing and making jokes about his upgrade and how much happier he looked. Eleanor was commenting with heart eyes emojis and inside jokes. It was like our entire 7-month relationship had been erased and replaced with this narrative that I was some kind of consolation prize he'd been stuck with. But here's the thing that really gets me. I wasn't some random girl he settled for. Tyler pursued me. He was the one sliding into my DMs after Hector's party. He was the one asking me on dates, buying me flowers, talking about how different I was from other girls he'd dated. He was the one who said he'd never felt this comfortable with someone so quickly. And now he's acting like he was doing me some kind of favor this whole time. I spent Monday crying and rage scrolling through his posts, screenshotting everything because I couldn't believe this was really happening. I tried calling his work, but they said he was off for the weekend. Wednesday, I drove by his apartment, but his car wasn't there, and Douglas told me Tyler was staying somewhere else for a while. If Tyler thought I was pathetic and desperate before, he's about to learn what those words actually mean. Because I'm done being the quiet girl who gets humiliated and disappears. I'm done letting him control the story. I'm done being the victim in his little fairy tale about finding true love. He has no idea what's coming. He thinks he won. He thinks he got away with it. He's probably sitting there feeling so proud of himself for pulling off this whole scheme. I'll update you all soon once I put everything in motion. Trust me, this story is just getting started. First update, some of you have been DMing me asking for updates, and trust me, I have tea to spill. I started with my friend Jasmine, who hooked me up with the concert tickets. I figured if Tyler somehow got access to my tickets, maybe she could give me some insight into how that even happened. Jasmine was livid when I told her what went down. She immediately pulled up the guest list records and confirmed that Tyler had called the venue on Friday afternoon, pretending to be my boyfriend. He told them I was sick with food poisoning and couldn't make it, but that I really wanted him to take someone else so the tickets wouldn't go to waste. Since my name was on the main account and his was listed as the +1, they just let him do it. No verification needed. But here's where it gets interesting. Jasmine mentioned that when Tyler called, he seemed to know way too much about the VIP package details. Stuff that wasn't in the confirmation email I'd shown him. Things like which entrance to use, what time the meet and greet started, even which parking section was reserved for VIP guests. Information that I never told him, because I was planning to surprise him with all the details that night. That got me thinking, how did Tyler know so much about something I was keeping as a surprise? So I started digging through his Instagram more carefully, going back weeks before I even bought the tickets. And that's when I found it. Buried in his story highlights from a month ago was a screenshot of the concert announcement, but not just any screenshot. It was a screenshot of the VIP package details page with prices and everything. Tyler had been planning to buy those tickets for himself, which means he knew exactly what I was getting him because he'd been researching the same thing. But if he wanted to go so badly, why didn't he just buy his own tickets? The answer came when I called Hector to ask some innocent questions about Tyler's financial situation. Turns out Tyler's been having money problems for months. His car broke down in February and he had to take out a loan for repairs. Then his mom got sick in March and he's been sending her money for medical bills. Hector mentioned that Tyler's been picking up extra shifts at work and even asked if he could borrow $200 a few weeks ago, which Hector turned down because Tyler still hadn't paid him back from the last time. So Tyler was broke, wanted to go to this concert desperately, and then his girlfriend bought the exact tickets he couldn't afford. Instead of being grateful, he saw an opportunity. But it gets so much worse. I decided to reach out to Melinda, who's friends with both me and Eleanor from when we all went to state together. I wasn't planning to go behind anyone's back or start drama. I just wanted to understand what Tyler had told Eleanor about our relationship. Because something about this whole Eleanor's going through a hard time story wasn't sitting right with me. Melinda was hesitant at first, but eventually told me that Eleanor had been posting on her private Instagram about dating someone new for the past month. Someone she described as finally being appreciated by a man who knows what he wants. The timeline didn't add up. If Eleanor was going through such a hard time with family stuff, why was she posting about being happy in a new relationship? So I asked Melinda to dig a little deeper. Eleanor wasn't going through any family crisis. She'd been talking to Tyler since before he and I had our anniversary plans. They'd been meeting up for coffee, texting constantly, and according to what Eleanor told Melinda, Tyler had been complaining about feeling trapped in our relationship for weeks. But wait, it gets worse. Remember that vintage silver necklace I gave Tyler for our anniversary? The one Eleanor was wearing in his Instagram story? Melinda saw Eleanor wearing it just last week when they met for lunch. I gave Tyler that necklace 2 weeks ago, which means he gave it to Eleanor almost immediately. He probably never even wore it himself, just took it straight from me to her like I was some kind of gift delivery service. I was shaking when Melinda told me this. Not just angry, but actually shaking with rage. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision to support a friend in need. This was a calculated plan to use me to fund his rekindled romance with Eleanor. But apparently the universe wasn't done serving me information on a silver platter because Wednesday afternoon I ran into Nicholas outside the Target near my work. Nicholas is one of Tyler's co-workers from the store, and we'd met a couple times when I'd pick Tyler up from work or stop by during his breaks. I was honestly just trying to get my groceries and go home to wallow, but Nicholas spotted me in the parking lot and came over. At first, I thought maybe Tyler had sent him to talk to me or something, but Nicholas seemed genuinely surprised to see me. He asked how I was doing and if Tyler and I had worked things out yet. When I told him there was nothing to work out because Tyler had made his choice pretty clear, he started going on about how I should just let Tyler be happy and move on with my life, that Tyler was starting a new chapter and I shouldn't try to hold him back. I was like, okay, that's a weird thing to say to someone, but whatever. Then Nicholas dropped this bombshell. He told me I should really just forget about Tyler completely because he and Eleanor were planning to move to Europe together anyway. Like, permanently. Tyler had been talking at work about how this was his chance to finally do something big with his life. Excuse me, what now? I asked Nicholas what he meant by moving to Europe, and he said Tyler had been bragging about how his parents were finally supporting his dreams and had given him money to start fresh somewhere new. Apparently, Tyler told everyone at work that his family was way more generous than people realized, and they'd always wanted their son to achieve something meaningful, so they were funding this big adventure for him. I literally stood there in the Target parking lot trying to process this information. Tyler's parents funding a European adventure? The same parents who've been struggling with medical bills for his mom? The same parents who live in that tiny duplex across town and drive cars older than mine? The same parents who Tyler complained about never having money to visit him? I asked Nicholas if he was sure about this, and he seemed confused by my reaction. He said Tyler had been super excited about it and had even shown people pictures of apartments in Barcelona that he and Eleanor were looking at online. Barcelona! Like they're planning some romantic European getaway funded by his supposedly generous family. Nicholas could tell something was off by how I was reacting, so he started backtracking and saying maybe he'd misunderstood what Tyler told him. I thanked him and got out of there as fast as I could, but my mind was racing. See, here's what Nicholas didn't know. I'd met Tyler's parents at Christmas. We spent 2 days at their house and I saw firsthand how they lived. His mom, Harriet, is sweet as pie, but she's been dealing with some serious health issues that have drained their savings. His dad works when he can, but work has been spotty. They literally apologized to me for not being able to afford getting Tyler a nicer Christmas gift that year. These are not people who have thousands of dollars lying around to fund their son's European romance adventure. These are people who've been struggling to keep their heads above water for months. So, where exactly is Tyler getting the money for this grand European escape with Eleanor? I sat in my car for like 20 minutes, just trying to piece this together. Tyler tells his coworkers his parents are funding his European adventure. But I know his parents don't have that kind of money. Tyler's been broke for months, picking up extra shifts, borrowing money from friends. So where is this mysterious funding coming from? And then it hit me like a truck. What if Tyler isn't planning to use his parents' money at all? What if he's planning to get money from his parents under false pretenses? I remembered how good Tyler was at manipulating situations to get what he wanted. Like how he'd convinced the venue to transfer my tickets. How he'd sweet-talked the hotel into changing the reservation. Tyler knows how to work people, especially people who care about him. What if he's planning to scam his own parents? I couldn't just sit on this suspicion, so I did something that might seem crazy but felt totally necessary in the moment. I called Tyler's Aunt Tina. Tina and I had really hit it off when I met her at Tyler's family Christmas gathering. She's his mom's sister, super down to earth, and we'd actually exchanged numbers because she wanted to send me her famous cookie recipe. I figured if anyone would know about Tyler's family's financial situation and these supposed European plans, it would be Tina. Plus, she seemed like the type of person who would be straight with me if something fishy was going on. When Tina picked up, I could hear her kids playing in the background. I started off casual, asking how she was doing and if she'd heard about Tyler's big news. When she asked what news I was talking about, I explained that I'd heard Tyler was planning to move to Europe with his girlfriend, and that his parents were helping fund it. Tina went completely quiet for a few seconds, then said something like, "Wait, with his girlfriend? You mean with you?" And that's when I realized she had no idea what had happened between Tyler and me. I had to explain the whole situation. The concert tickets, Eleanor, the breakup, everything. Tina was shocked. She kept asking me to repeat parts of the story because she couldn't believe what she was hearing. She told me that Tyler hadn't mentioned anything to the family about breaking up with me, let alone about planning to move to Europe with someone else. As far as she knew, Tyler and I were still together and doing well. She said just last week when she talked to Harriet, Tyler's mom had even asked how I was doing and mentioned she was looking forward to seeing me again soon. When I told her where I'd heard about the European plans, she asked me to hold on while she went somewhere quieter to talk. Tina came back on the line and told me this was the first she'd heard of any European plans, and she was pretty sure Tyler's parents didn't know anything about it either. She said Harriet would have definitely mentioned something like that to her, especially if they were talking about spending that kind of money. I could hear the concern in Tina's voice when she asked me not to mention this conversation to anyone else yet. She said she wanted to do some digging of her own before jumping to any conclusions. But something about this whole situation wasn't sitting right with her either. Tina promised to call me back after she'd had a chance to ask around discreetly. She said she had a family barbecue planned for this weekend anyway, so she could bring up Tyler casually and see what everyone knew. I hung up feeling both vindicated and terrified. Vindicated because clearly I wasn't crazy for thinking something was off about Tyler's supposed family funding. Terrified because if my suspicions were right, Tyler wasn't just a cheating boyfriend. He was planning to scam his own family. But honestly, part of me was almost impressed by the sheer audacity of it all. Tyler had managed to manipulate me into funding his reunion with Eleanor, and now he was apparently planning to manipulate his own parents into funding their European escape. This wasn't just cheating. This was next-level manipulation and deception. And the more I thought about it, the more pieces started falling into place. Tyler's sudden interest in starting fresh and supporting Eleanor through her hard time, his complete dismissal of our relationship and his cruel social media posts, the way he'd blocked me so completely and tried to make me look like the crazy ex. Tyler wasn't just leaving me for Eleanor. He was planning to leave everyone behind, probably with a pocket full of money that didn't belong to him. I spent the rest of Wednesday evening pacing around my tiny apartment, waiting for Tina to call me back. Every scenario I imagined seemed worse than the last. Was Tyler planning to ask his parents for a loan he never intended to pay back? Was he going to make up some elaborate business opportunity that required immediate investment? The waiting was killing me, but I knew Tina needed time to gather information without raising suspicions. If Tyler really was planning to scam his family, the last thing I wanted was for him to find out that we were onto him. Second update. You guys, I am shaking right now. Tina called me back yesterday, and what she found out is so much worse than I even imagined. So remember how Tina was going to discreetly ask around at their family barbecue this weekend? Well, she did, and apparently Tyler has been feeding his entire family a bunch of different stories that don't add up at all. Tina started by casually asking Harriet how Tyler was doing, and Harriet immediately lit up talking about how proud she was of her son. Apparently, Tyler had been telling his mom that he'd found some amazing online business opportunity and was looking for investors to help him get started. He told Harriet that he'd been researching this company for months and that if he could just get the initial investment money, he could make enough to finally move out of his shared apartment and maybe even help his parents with their financial struggles. But here's the kicker. Tyler told his mom that several of his friends had already committed to investing, and he just needed one more person to believe in him to make his dream come true. He said he'd found this incredible opportunity working with a European company that imports specialty products, and if he could just get to Barcelona to meet with them in person, he could secure a partnership that would set him up for life. Tina said Harriet was practically glowing when she talked about it, saying how Tyler had never shown this kind of entrepreneurial spirit before, and how excited she was that he was finally ready to take charge of his future. Harriet told Tina that Tyler had been working so hard lately, picking up extra shifts and saving every penny, and that he really deserved this chance. When Tina asked if Tyler had mentioned needing money for this business venture, Harriet's whole demeanor changed. She got quiet for a minute, then admitted that Tyler had brought it up a few times. He'd told his parents that he was so close to having enough money for the initial investment, but he was still a little short on the funds needed to actually travel to Barcelona and secure the deal. Tina said you could see the conflict on Harriet's face when she talked about it. On one hand, she wanted to support her son's dreams, especially after watching him struggle financially for the past year. On the other hand, she and Tyler's dad are barely keeping their heads above water with the medical bills and everything else. But apparently Tyler had been working on them for weeks. He'd been showing up at their house more often, helping his dad with household projects, bringing his mom flowers, just being the perfect son. And every time he visited, he'd mention how close he was to achieving his dream, how this was his one shot to really make something of himself. Tina told me that Harriet had confided in her that she and Tyler's dad had been considering taking out a small loan to help Tyler with his business venture. Harriet said Tyler had promised he'd pay them back within 6 months once the business started making money. I was literally pacing around my apartment while Tina told me all this. Tyler wasn't just planning to take money from his parents. He'd been manipulating them for weeks, playing the perfect son, earning their trust, making them feel like they'd be bad parents if they didn't support his dreams. She said she also talked to Tyler's dad separately, and his version of Tyler's story was slightly different. Tyler had told his dad that he'd been talking to this business mentor who had connections in Europe, and that this mentor had offered to help Tyler get started in international business. According to Tyler's dad, Tyler said the mentor was even willing to travel to Barcelona with him to help facilitate the initial meetings. When I asked Tina who this mysterious business mentor was supposed to be, she said Tyler had been vague about the details, just that it was someone he'd met through work who had experience in international importing and was willing to help Tyler learn the ropes. I immediately knew Tyler was talking about Eleanor. He was planning to take his parents' money, telling them it was for a business opportunity, and using it to fund a European vacation with his side piece. But wait, it gets worse. Tina said that when she asked Tyler's dad if he was planning to help Tyler financially, His dad got emotional talking about how he felt like he'd failed Tyler by not being able to provide more opportunities for him growing up. He said Tyler had been saying things like how all his friends had parents who could afford to help them with college or starting businesses, and how he'd always felt behind because his family didn't have money for those kinds of investments. Tyler had been guilt-tripping his own parents about their financial situation, making them feel like they owed him something because they weren't wealthy. This man who I'd watched his parents apologize to me at Christmas for not being able to afford better gifts was now making them feel guilty for not having money to throw at his fake business scheme. Tina said she could tell Tyler's parents were seriously considering the loan, even though it would put them in a really difficult financial position. They were talking about maybe borrowing against their house or using the little bit of retirement savings they had left. They were willing to sacrifice their own financial security because Tyler had convinced them that this was his one shot at success. I was so angry I could barely think straight. Tyler had gone from stealing my concert tickets and anniversary gift to planning to steal money from his own struggling parents. And he was doing it all to fund some romantic European getaway with Eleanor, who he'd been cheating with behind my back for who knows how long. Tina asked me what I thought we should do with this information. She said she was torn because she didn't want to crush Harriet's excitement about Tyler's supposed business venture, but she also couldn't stand by and watch Tyler manipulate his parents into giving him money for a fake opportunity. I told Tina that we needed to find a way to expose Tyler's lies without making his parents feel stupid for believing him. These are good people who just want to support their son, and Tyler was taking advantage of their love and trust in the most disgusting way possible. Tina agreed, but she said we needed to be careful about how we approached it. If we just went to Harriet and Tyler's dad with accusations, they might not believe us. Tyler had been so convincing, so detailed in his stories, that his parents were completely invested in his supposed business opportunity. That's when I had an idea. What if we could get Tyler to expose himself? If Tyler was planning to ask his parents for money soon, maybe we could find a way to catch him in his lies before any money actually changed hands. Tina thought that was a good plan, but she wasn't sure how we could make it happen. Tyler had been so careful to keep his story straight when talking to his parents, and he obviously wasn't going to admit to scamming them voluntarily. But I'd been thinking about this all week, and I had some ideas. I told Tina that I wanted to try something, but I needed her help to make it work. The plan would require perfect timing and a little bit of luck, but if we could pull it off, Tyler would expose himself without us having to convince anyone of anything. Tina was nervous about getting involved, which I totally understood. This is her family, and she didn't want to be responsible for causing drama or hurting anyone's feelings. But she also couldn't stand the thought of watching Tyler steal money from Harriet and Tyler's dad when they were already struggling so much. I promised Tina that if my plan worked, Tyler's parents would see the truth for themselves, and we wouldn't have to be the ones delivering bad news. They'd be able to make their own decisions about Tyler with full information, instead of being manipulated into giving him money based on lies. After thinking about it for a while, Tina agreed to help. She said she couldn't live with herself if she stood by and let Tyler scam his own parents, especially knowing how much they were willing to sacrifice to support what they thought was his legitimate business opportunity. So here's what we're planning. Tina is going to call Harriet tomorrow and suggest that the whole family get together for dinner this week to celebrate Tyler's new business venture. She's going to say that since this is such a big deal for Tyler, maybe they should invite everyone so Tyler can share the details of his opportunity with the whole family. The idea is that if Tyler is put on the spot to explain his business plan in front of everyone, with specific questions about the company, the product, the timeline, the investment structure, all the details he's been keeping vague, he'll either have to admit he's been lying or he'll dig himself in so deep with contradictory stories that his parents will start to see the holes. Tyler can manipulate one-on-one conversations because he can tailor his story to what each person wants to hear. But if he has to tell the same story to multiple people at once, with everyone asking questions and comparing details, it's going to be a lot harder for him to keep his lies straight. Plus, if Tyler tries to back out of the dinner or makes excuses about why he can't share the details yet, that's going to raise red flags with his parents too. Tyler has been building this up as his big opportunity, his chance to finally succeed. If he suddenly gets cagey about discussing it with family who might want to support him, his parents are going to wonder what he's hiding. Tina is going to tell Harriet that she's so excited about Tyler's business venture that she wants to hear all about it, and maybe even see if there's a way she could help spread the word or make connections. She's going to make it sound like the family dinner is a celebration and support network for Tyler's big opportunity. The beauty of this plan is that Tyler can't say no without looking suspicious. If he really had a legitimate business opportunity that he wanted his parents to invest in, he'd be excited to share the details with supportive family members. The only reason to avoid that conversation would be if he didn't actually have a real business to discuss. I'm also hoping that having me there might throw Tyler off his game a little bit. See, Tina is going to suggest that since I was such a big part of Tyler's life recently, maybe I should be invited to the dinner too. She's going to frame it like Tyler would want to share his exciting news with someone who cares about his success. Of course, Tyler has no idea that I know anything about his European plans or his scheme to get money from his parents. As far as he knows, I'm just his pathetic ex-girlfriend who's probably still crying about our breakup. The look on Tyler's face when he realizes that I'm sitting at his family dinner, knowing exactly what he's been up to, is going to be priceless. Either way, Tyler is going to be backed into a corner with no good options. And Tyler never thinks clearly when he panics. Tina called Harriet this morning and suggested the family dinner, and apparently Harriet was thrilled. She immediately started making plans for this weekend, talking about making Tyler's favorite meal, and inviting his dad's brother and sister-in-law too. Tyler agreed to the dinner, which honestly surprised me a little. I thought he might try to make excuses or delay it somehow. But apparently his ego is so big that he thinks he can handle any questions his family might ask. He probably thinks he's going to charm everyone and walk away with their money by the end of the night. I'll update you all after the family dinner happens. Cross your fingers for me that Tyler's ego and overconfidence are about to be his downfall. Last update. Oh my god, you guys. I cannot believe what just happened. The family dinner was 3 days ago and I am still processing everything that went down. Tyler's world has literally imploded and I am here for every single second of it. So Saturday evening rolls around and I show up to Harriet and Tyler's dad's house at the same time as everyone else. Tina had told Harriet that she'd invited me because Tyler would want to share his exciting news with someone who'd been such a big part of his life recently. When Harriet saw me, she was so sweet, giving me a huge hug and saying how excited she was that Tyler was finally ready to get his life together. Tyler's face when he walked into the living room and saw me sitting there was priceless. I could literally watch him trying to figure out why I was there. He managed to keep his cool on the surface, but I could see the panic in his eyes. The first hour was just normal family dinner stuff. Harriet had made Tyler's favorite pot roast, and everyone was catching up and talking about work and life. Tyler was being super charming, helping his mom in the kitchen, asking his dad about his projects, just playing the perfect son role he'd been working on for weeks. But then Tina started asking Tyler about his business idea, and that's when things got interesting. She told everyone how excited she was to hear about Tyler finally wanting to start his own thing, and asked him to tell everyone about this amazing opportunity he'd found. Tyler started going on about this European company and how he could make so much money importing stuff to Barcelona. But honestly, even from the start, his story sounded like complete BS. He kept using these vague business words but couldn't actually explain what he'd be doing. What made it even more hilarious was watching Tyler realize that I was sitting right there, listening to his whole performance. You could literally see the moment it clicked in his brain that his ex-girlfriend was about to hear his big success story. And instead of being nervous, this idiot started showing off even more. Tyler started getting more animated, talking about how he was finally taking control of his life and making real money. He kept glancing at me while he talked, like he wanted to make sure I was hearing about how successful and ambitious he'd become. The man was literally trying to make me jealous with his fake business story. He started dropping hints about his international connections and his European business partner, who was helping him expand into new markets. Tyler was practically preening, talking about how this opportunity was going to set him up for life and how he'd finally be able to afford the lifestyle he deserved. I was sitting there trying not to laugh because Tyler genuinely thought he was impressing me with his lies. He had no idea that I already knew his European business partner was Eleanor and that his whole plan was just to steal money from his parents and run away. Then his uncle started asking basic questions. What kind of products? What's the name of the company? How did Tyler even find them? And Tyler just kept giving these super sketchy answers about how everything was confidential until partnerships were finalized. That's when I decided to mess with him a little. I asked Tyler if his business mentor was Eleanor. Tyler started stuttering about how that was irrelevant, but it was too late. Everyone could see he was lying about something. Harriet looked confused and asked who Eleanor was. So I pulled out my phone and showed everyone the Instagram posts of Tyler and Eleanor at my concert, wearing my anniversary necklace in my hotel room. Harriet asked me why Tyler was with another woman when he was supposed to be with me. That's when I had to explain that Tyler broke up with me the day before the concert so he could take Eleanor instead. Harriet's face was like, you know when you see someone's whole world crashing down? She asked Tyler why he hadn't told the family we broke up. Tyler got all defensive saying it was personal, but then Tina asked the million-dollar question. Was Eleanor this mysterious business mentor Tyler kept talking about? And that's when Tyler completely lost his shit. He started yelling about how nobody supported his dreams and how Eleanor was the only one who believed in him, which was hilarious because dude, you just admitted your business mentor is your new girlfriend. That's when I had the perfect idea. I looked at Tyler and said, you know what? If this is all legit, why don't you show everyone your text messages with Eleanor about this business opportunity? And while you're at it, show us your conversations with this European business partner you keep talking about. He started getting all flustered and saying that was private business information. I was like, come on, Tyler. If Eleanor is your business mentor and you have a real European partner, just show everyone a few messages. Prove that this isn't just you planning a vacation with your new girlfriend. Tyler got so angry. He started yelling at me about how I had no right to interfere in his family's business. He said I was just his bitter ex-girlfriend trying to ruin his life because I couldn't handle that he'd upgraded. He told me to stay out of family matters that didn't concern me, but I wasn't backing down. I told everyone that if Tyler had nothing to hide, he'd have no problem showing a few business-related messages. Real business partners send emails, contracts, meeting details. If this European company exists, there should be evidence of actual business discussions. Tyler refused. He said he wasn't going to violate confidentiality agreements just to satisfy my jealousy. When his dad asked what confidentiality agreements, Tyler said all serious business ventures require discretion and he couldn't risk jeopardizing his partnership. His uncle wasn't buying it. He asked Tyler to at least show them Eleanor's messages about helping him with business connections. Tyler got even more defensive and started attacking me personally, saying I was pathetic for showing up to his family dinner uninvited and trying to sabotage his future. That's when I decided to drop the real bomb. I looked straight at Harriet and Tyler's dad and said, "You guys need to know something. Tyler isn't planning to start a business. He's planning to take your money, fly to Europe with Eleanor, and disappear forever. He's tired of living here and wants to abandon his entire life in America." He told his coworkers he was getting money from his generous family to start fresh in Europe. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Tyler's dad jumped up from his chair and started screaming at Tyler. "You were planning to rob us? We can barely pay our bills and you wanted to steal our money to run away with some random girl?" Harriet was sobbing and yelling at the same time. "How could you even think about stealing from your own parents? We were ready to go into debt to help you." Tyler's uncle was in complete shock. "So there was never any business? You were just planning to take their money under false pretenses and disappear? That's theft, Tyler. That's a crime." Tyler tried to defend himself, saying he wasn't stealing, that he just wanted a chance at a better life. But his dad was having none of it. "You were planning to lie to us, take our money, and vanish. That is stealing." Harriet was absolutely hysterical. "We trusted you. We believed in your dreams. And you were planning to rob us the entire time." She kept asking how she could have raised a son who would plan to steal from his own struggling parents. Tyler's aunt started crying too, saying she couldn't believe Tyler would do this to people who had already been through so much. His uncle was furious, telling Tyler that planning to scam your own family was the most disgusting thing he'd ever heard. Tyler started panicking because everyone was calling him a thief and a liar. He tried to say it wasn't like that he would have made it up to them somehow. But Tyler's dad wasn't having it. "Made it up to us how? From Europe? With what money?" That's when Tyler really lost it. He started screaming that his family was holding him back, that Eleanor was right about them being small-minded people who didn't understand ambition. He said he deserved better than living in this crappy town with people who had no vision for the future. Tyler's dad grabbed him by the arm and started pushing him toward the door. "If you think so little of us, then get out! You want to abandon us so badly? Start right now!" Harriet was sobbing, telling Tyler that if he walked out that door planning to steal from them, he shouldn't bother coming back. Tyler's uncle was telling him that what he'd planned was criminal and that they should probably call the police. Tyler's dad literally shoved him out the front door and threw his jacket after him. He screamed at Tyler that he'd raised a thief and a liar, and that Tyler was no son of his. We all sat there stunned for a few minutes. Harriet was crying so hard she could barely breathe. But wait, it gets so much better. Apparently, Tyler went straight to Eleanor's place to tell her his family had rejected his business plan, and they'd have to find another way to fund their European escape. According to Melinda, when Eleanor realized Tyler was broke, his parents were struggling, and there was no inheritance or family money coming, she told Tyler she wasn't interested in being with someone who couldn't provide the lifestyle she wanted. She literally broke up with him because he couldn't afford to take her to Europe. "I'm dying. This man destroyed his relationship with me, got disowned by his family, and planned to rob his own struggling parents, all for a woman who dumped him the second she found out he was poor." Since Monday, Tyler has been calling me nonstop. Like 25-30 calls a day, crazy voicemails, texts from random numbers. He's absolutely losing his mind. The voicemails are insane. Tyler is literally sobbing and screaming, "What did you do?" and begging me to fix everything. In one voicemail, he actually screamed, "Please, I'm sorry, answer me, it was just a joke." A joke. This man planned to steal money from his own parents and abandon his entire life in America, and now he's calling it a joke. Tyler keeps begging me to help him get Eleanor back. He wants me to call her and lie, saying his family actually does have money and they were just testing him. Like, the audacity. He wants me to help him scam his way back into a relationship with the woman he cheated on me with. He's also been trying to call his parents, but they won't answer. Harriet told Tina that Tyler left dozens of voicemails apologizing and begging them to give him another chance. In one message, he offered to pay them back triple if they'd just give him $1,000 to prove his commitment to Eleanor. Tyler's dad changed the locks on their house and told the neighbors that if they see Tyler around, they should call the police. He said he doesn't want to see Tyler again until Tyler admits he was planning to steal from them and get serious help. I'm honestly impressed by how spectacularly Tyler managed to destroy every relationship in his life for a woman who dumped him the second she found out he was broke. Like, the level of stupidity is actually amazing. As I'm writing this, Tyler just called again. He left another crying voicemail about how he never meant for it to get complicated, and maybe we could work things out if I help him fix things with his family. This man wants me to help repair the relationships he destroyed by planning to rob his own parents, so he can get money to win back his sugar baby. The delusion is honestly impressive, but I'm completely done with Tyler. He chose to lie to everyone who cared about him because he thought he was smarter than all of us. He thought he could manipulate his way into a European escape funded by money stolen from his struggling parents. He thought Eleanor actually cared about him and not just what he could provide. His parents aren't stupid enough to be robbed by their own son. Eleanor only wanted him for money he didn't have, and I wasn't about to let him destroy his family's finances for his pathetic midlife crisis. And honestly, watching this man's stupid plan blow up in his face has been absolutely hilarious.